Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So today I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because the Ymir or Ymir, the new Sega Saturn emulator that is in development, updated a few days ago, bringing in new improvements, better performance, and new games that work. And honestly, it's awesome to have a new Sega Saturn emulator on the market because as much as I do love Defend, I feel like in the comments most of you don't actually like using it due to the command line or the graphical user interface issues. So having a new Saturn emulator in development is absolutely awesome, and this thing is progressing so incredibly fast. I feel like by the end of the year it might be complete. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, Ymir isn't even that far along the development process, and you're already getting games like Wipeout that feel like they're running on real hardware or MiSTer FPGA. And if you're not aware, the Sega Saturn is highly complex hardware for its time and era, with the two Hitachi SH2 CPUs running in tandem, as well as VDP1 and VDP2. Honestly, for the longest time, Sega Saturn wasn't really even anything that you could emulate well whatsoever. It's only been in the last handful of years where Sega Saturn emulation really has taken off. So the fact that a developer out there can get this many games running this well, this quickly, is absolutely a testament of just how well they can code for Sega Saturn emulation. Because honestly, outside of a few little visual blips here and there, you'd be hard-pressed to tell this was running on a work-in-progress emulator and not just on a direct capture off Sega Saturn with RGB or MiSTer FPGA with HDMI. And that again is just wild, and honestly Wipeout looks so good on the Sega Saturn. It runs at such a great frame rate, and here in Ymir it just feels like it would be playing on real hardware. And big thanks to the Cool Pup, the moderator of my Discord server, for helping out with the captures on this as well. He's been keeping me updated with all of the different Ymir news from the Discord server for the emulator, and I will leave a link in the Discord to that as well if you want to see the new updates coming up, because I can't be in every single Discord all the time no matter how much I try. But Wipeout is absolutely a 10 out of 10 as far as the performance is concerned in the emulator, and I can't wait to see what games run next. But moving from 3D to 2D, this is Groove on Fight, and it's basically part of the Power Instinct or Match Melee series. It definitely has a way more futuristic, way more gritty tone to it, but it is a straight up hidden gem arcade 2D fighting game. And if you've never played it before, I can't recommend checking it out enough. And interestingly enough, we've been talking about this on the MiSTer FPGA side of things as well, with SRG 320's STV or Sega Titan video implementation of the arcade-based Sega Saturn board. So this game has definitely been getting a lot of hype this year, and it definitely is another one that I can't recommend checking out enough. But it really is fun to have an example of a pure 3D game like Wipeout versus a pure 2D game like Groove on Fight, because this thing uses the expansion cartridge as well, and that means now that is incorporated within the emulator in and of itself. Because don't forget, Sega Saturn had the ability to use 1MB or 4MB RAM expansion cartridges, as well as ROM expansions where they have some assets for certain games actually available outside of the CD for faster loading. So this isn't just a technical demo of how good that this emulator is emulating the 2D sprites and all of the graphics, is also an example of that additional hardware being built in as well. And again, this is one, I don't see a single thing here as far as the visuals are concerned that bother me whatsoever. I did test this in the background before I did the voiceover, and all of the inputs felt smooth and fluid. I didn't feel any latency in the controls whatsoever that affected being able to pull off moves. It is just straight up feeling like, again, you're playing MiSTer FPGA or real Saturn hardware. And it blows my mind that a developer can get the game standing up and running this well so quickly, because it's only a couple months ago that I even mentioned the actual first release of Ymir as far as emulation is concerned, and it went from running a few games with some graphical glitches and speed issues to now running a bunch of games. And I'm sure by the end of the year you're going to see this thing just absolutely explode in popularity. Leave me a comment down below and you let me know, what is your Sega Saturn emulator of choice? For me, it's definitely Defend, but there's other Saturn emulators out there, so I'm kind of curious who's using what. And if you have been playing around with Ymir or testing it, leave me your results down below as well, because I would be curious. But as far as its ability to run Groove on Fight at full speed with good input latency, with all of the sprites being drawn the way I would expect them to be, I really don't honestly have any critique of the performance right here. It looks good, it plays good, all of the controls are there, and honestly it sounds incredible as well, which is my segue to the first soundtrack sample, 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with more games. I mean, honestly, it sounds exactly like I'd expect it to as well, so Group on Fight, I have absolutely no notes whatsoever. You can just sit down, you can play this game, you can enjoy it. If you've never checked it out before, I can't recommend it enough, but it just shows that Ymir is absolutely maturing, probably faster than any other emulator development I've ever seen on the channel. Now moving over to a game that combines both 3D and 2D assets together that is now working as well. This is Dark Savior, and it's another game if you've never played it before on the Sega Saturn. I can't recommend it enough, and it's a good example of mixing both 3D and 2D assets at the same time, because you can see the polygons in the background, you can see the 2D text box, you can see that the characters are made out of sprites, very well animated sprites that almost look like they could be 3D, but they are just 2D assets, maybe pre-rendered. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is a good example of mixing and matching different graphical stylings and different functions in the emulator, because VDP1 and VDP2 are both responsible for making up the entirety of the Sega Saturn's display. VDP1 will handle certain aspects, VDP2 will handle other ones, and that's how you can kind of combine stuff like 3D and 2D together. Now of course you're not going to get real transparencies, they're going to be dithered mesh patterns, but that's just part of how this game works and how most of the games on Saturn work, but it is a misnomer that Saturn can't handle transparencies. It just requires a deft hand in the coding and a little bit of trickery. But again, if you just watch this footage go by, it's really hard to spot anything in it whatsoever that doesn't make it seem like it's doing anything other than what it's supposed to do. And now that we get to the pixel peeping stage, that again is just showing how mature this emulator is. But honestly, for every single game that does this, there's games that aren't even going to boot up right now. That is because every single game can and will use different functions of the Sega Saturn in different ways. Whether it's a call to the CPU or VDP1 or VDP2, some games are just basically not going to touch certain functions of the hardware, where other games will use things that maybe no other games ever did before. So until all of those different functions and calls are incorporated into the emulator, when you get something like 100% of the games booting and working. But that's something we discuss basically ad nauseum at length on the MiSTer FPGA developments for the FPGA core for Sega Saturn as well. One game will be perfect, the next game will freeze within 10 seconds, so don't go into every single game expecting you're going to be able to play it from start to finish and you won't be disappointed. Because even though the games I'm showing you here basically seem to be doing things perfectly, it is one of those things, maybe 4 hours from now in this game it's going to freeze and you're going to be soft locked until you get a new version of the emulator. But even if that's the case, again, I just can't believe this is working so well so quickly, and I can't wait to see what the next update is going to bring. And honestly, it feels like 2025 really is the year of software emulation developments. We've had so many different updates to different emulators and even new emulators. But at Soundtrack Sample 2 time, again, basic perfect audio, but we're going to switch up the game. So obviously we switched over to Rayman, and again, sounds incredible, and it's going to be the 4th and last game in this overall sample of the new version of Ymir. And this, again, is just going to be a pure 2D game, so they kind of cycled through a lot of different options. Pure 3D, pure 2D, as well as 3D and 2D combined together, just to show how the different functions work. And honestly, Rayman is an absolutely beautiful game, no matter what platform you play it on. And if it is a 2D platform you never played before, if you started with the 3D Raymans, I can't stress enough, definitely check this one out. But again, like every other game we're showing here, every single pixel is where I would expect it to be, every single control is on point, all of the music sounds incredible, and it would be really hard pressed to think that this is running on something that isn't finalized emulation, an emulator that hits 1.0 status and never sees another update. So that is super exciting. Now as far as any sort of internal running resolution bumps or other enhancements coming to the emulator, I do not know, we'll just have to wait and see. But right now this is showing absolutely massive promise, and I can't wait to see what the next update brings. And if you like updates to emulator videos like this, leave me a comment down below because I have been making more of them and you guys have definitely been enjoying watching them. But if there's anything else out there you want to see, I am all ears because I make these things because I know you enjoy them. But honestly, Ymir or Ymir, no matter how you want to pronounce it, and I've heard both, it's just absolutely progressing so incredibly quickly, and I feel like once this thing is done, it's going to be the preeminent de facto way to emulate Sega Saturn games if you're not on FPGA. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me what's your favorite way to play Sega Saturn. I would be curious. But I'll update this video next time there's a big update to Ymir, but I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video and definitely go play some Sega Saturn. Bye bye.